Hi everyone, welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Mr. Aman Gour, co-founder of TurboHire, an intelligent talent discovery and interview platform. Aman is a graduate of IIT Bombay and has worked for Microsoft before starting his own venture. Hi Aman, welcome to ELI.
Thanks so much, Priya. Really looking forward to the conversation and sharing whatever we have learned in the 3-year journey so that it can help others. So on. Yeah.
Sure. We would like to start with your introduction. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Okay. So let me sort of give a slightly longer introduction. I graduated from IIT Bombay in 2016. Uh, then started. I wanted to understand whether PhD or corporate job is my thing. So started a research internship in Germany at TU Braunschweig, where I realized PhD is not quite my thing. So dropped out of it very quickly. Started working at Microsoft, where I had exposure to a lot of problems that exist in the industry today. I was working with the ERP division of Microsoft and realized that the ERP had a lot of problems. It was not very intelligent. So I wrote a big email to the head of the division. Obviously, that email never saw a reply, but that got me started on the journey of building interfaces which are intelligent, human and machine collaboration, what it could do for companies. Post that, I joined a small team which was for training and employment of blue collar workers, which was called Digital India. It was an initiative by then MD of Microsoft India, who was Anil Bansali.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great experience for me personally because now I was sort of seeing how people learn, why they learn, and then how they would apply their learning in the employment realm. And especially for the blue collar segment where people don't learn for the sake of learning, they learn to earn. That started me on the journey to understand the realm of employment and how it happens. At the same time, personally, I was put in a wrong team in Microsoft. So that's where I wanted to understand how talent identification happens. How one job person is a really good fit for a job, whereas somebody else might not be a good fit, right? So what can technology do to foster a better decision in putting a person for a better job, right? So that's where TurboHire happened. I started with a friend of mine. We were hacking around within while we were doing our jobs and so on. And at the same time, Deepak and Abhi and Gaurav were doing something similar. So we joined hand to build TurboHire. So it was a very complementary team that we built. To be really honest, we thought that in the first 3 months, given the team is stellar, given the problem is real, given the market is big, we'll raise funds within like few months. That didn't happen. It took us a year's time to build a great product and then take it to our customers and VCs, and then generate the kind of interest. So at the current stage, Priya, we had raised our seed round during last year, COVID, and on a growth trajectory, trying to take TurboHire to global markets as well. US is our next destination, and so on. So that's been my journey so far with TurboHire. Yeah.
Tell us about TurboHire. What does it do? How does it work,
Okay.
etc.
So, have you previously applied to jobs, Priya?
Lot many jobs. To be honest, I am the one who can tell you everything from a candidate's point of view. I have applied to so many jobs in my life.
Amazing, amazing. So every time you would have applied for jobs, most of the time you would get a reply saying that we will get back to you when there's a suitable opening. Have you gotten that reply?
Many times I do not.
Okay. So most of the time people send that reply, but never get back when there's a suitable opening, right? So there is a underlying problem that is happening there. So enterprises are sitting on top of a lot of resumes that come to them. For every job, around 300 candidates apply, Priya, through different channels, LinkedIn, job boards, referrals, partners, and so on. But enterprises do not have a way to identify which person is best for what job.
Okay.
and do the matching corresponding to their own the capabilities of people as well as their own requirements. It's like a seesaw, right? Job requires something, a candidate has something. You have to do a balance between the two.
Mhm.
And that is what TurboHire does. So TurboHire converts the resumes into a LinkedIn-like network for an organization, and then helps companies identify the best talent for that job. Uh, Everyone would is a good fit for one job or the other. You have to identify for this particular job which is a good candidate given the hiring criteria that organization has. So we started with that problem statement, Priya, but we quickly realized that talent identification is not just a technology problem. It's also a collaboration problem because an entire organization is trying to sort of grow and hire more people. So we ventured into now automated video interviewing, partner collaboration, and so on and so forth. And at the moment, TurboHire is a talent intelligence platform being used by over 60 plus companies with known names like BirlaSoft, Acolyte, Tavant, and so on. So this has been what we have been doing and where we are at.
Having said that, we'd also like to know how does it work in the back end? What is the underlying technology?
Got it. So the most important thing here is why organizations don't get back to you when there's a suitable opening, because they have a lot of resumes and they don't have an easy way to search through those resume databases, Priya. And if you look at that as a problem statement, it can further be divided into three sub problems. The first one is resume written in an unstructured form. You would write your resume in one way, I would write my resume in another way, and so on and so forth. Now, that's where we solve the first problem, which is of converting this resume into a smart card. So standardizing across the board, right? That's where NLP comes into play. We use Stanford NLP and so on and so forth to convert a unstructured piece of document into a smart card.
Mhm.
The second big problem is matching of a candidate and job now, right? It's a very hard problem, Priya. It's almost as hard as finding a life partner. Uh,
Okay.
Now, when you look at that problem, it has many subparts to it. So you can't just say that I'm looking for somebody from uh, UC Berkeley and just search that keyword, because people write UC Berkeley in multiple ways. People might write UCB, UC Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley, and so on.
Mhm.
That's where now the intelligence understands what a human is looking for, or what a company is looking for, and allows for matching. Now, we do not say, Priya, that we have solved that problem, because whosoever is saying that is almost lying, because it's a very hard problem. What
Mm.
we do here is we do human machine collaboration. We call it augmented intelligence, where now, just like on Google Maps, Priya, Google Maps does not tell you that this is from A to B, this is the best path. It just tells you that these are the three potential paths. This path will take 5 minutes more, but might be more scenic. This path has a maybe some toll tax that you might have to pay. This path has a lot of traffic. So
Mhm.
similarly, imagine that on being done on resumes on applicants. So we sort of make available the information to people that, okay, this candidate has the required experience in the domain. This candidate might not have the required experience in that domain, but he has done some similar projects which might be useful for your job, and
Okay.
so on. And all of that is powered by augmented intelligence, which has multiple layers in it. Do you want to sort of delve deeper into that, because it might get slightly technical?
No, all I want to understand is how it is different from LinkedIn, because the way I see it, LinkedIn has similar features
Yeah.
also. They have a standardized format of storing information,
Mhm.
and you can use keywords and other sort of things to find the right match.
Very cool. Very cool. So this is one question that we are asked very often. So you're right on point, Priya. But we are actually very complementary to LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is one source of information. Uh, very similar set of people are there on LinkedIn, but many doctors are not there on LinkedIn. Many that people in other industries are not there on LinkedIn, right? Now, for a recruiter, he has to have one platform which connects every other platforms. So imagine resumes coming from all sources into one place, and then you are able to do similar, like as powerful search as you can do on LinkedIn in that entire lot, right? So that's where the magic happens. That's first part. The second part is LinkedIn asks you all of that information manually. You're typing it manually,
Mm-hmm.
where which college you went to, what skills you have, and so on and so forth. TurboHire utilizes the real world data that is available and then overlays on top of your profile. So that now you understand what is UC Berkeley. It's a tier one institute. What is Kafka as a technology? You understand that in the terms that a recruiter would understand, or as a hiring manager you would understand.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's where the paradigm of who did what, where, how, and how long adds value to the lives of recruiters. Yeah.
Okay. Understood. So now tell us how it all started. How did you come up with the idea in the first place? And then how
Mm-hmm.
did you, find each other as co-founders and convinced each other to start up something together?
Understood. There is one commonalities that exist in great ideas, Priya, right? So almost all great companies start with a problem or a solution that breaks the status quo.
Mm-hmm.
We also started with something similar where we wanted organizations to leverage the resumes that they have already received in making great hires, which
Okay.
is not a common practice at the moment. It's not how things are being done, right? We started with that. Out of 100 people, 5 people believe that, okay, this is a possible likely outcome, which will save time, save money, as well as give a great candidate experience. Uh, that's how sort of it all started with a hypothesis which only few people believed us in. Um, in terms of team, how we came together, I would say that it was serendipity uh, in the way 5 of us got together because we hadn't known each other uh, as a person, right? Most college teams either start as most startup teams usually start as either college batchmates or
Mm-hmm.
you work together and so on. Whereas TurboHire founding team is slightly different. Uh, we have people who uh, like in the founding team itself, married, who have kids, people who are married, or people like me who are just ambitious and raw energy and a lot of enthusiasm. So I would say it's a very serendipitous thing that happened, which sort of brought the TurboHire team together. And I would quote one person here. Uh, so Prabir Jha, who is a known name in the HR community, fraternity, and so on, he
Mm-hmm.
quoted that if the problem of talent identification cannot be solved by the team TurboHire, it might not be able to, like, no one might be able to solve that.
Okay.
So that's where we feel like the team came together for a reason. Uh, and we are trying to sort of solve that hard problem of finding better jobs for every person from the enterprise perspective. So what LinkedIn does from the candidate perspective, we are doing from the enterprise perspective, and that's where these two are very complementary.
So, um, have you achieved the product market fit yet? If you have, tell us how you got that.
So product market fit is an interesting concept, right? So at an umbrella, it talks about you have something that users are seeking uh, and they're ready to pay for it. So it has further components in it, Priya, when it comes to enterprise. So product market fit would also you might want to find the price market fit. You might want to also understand the customer market fit, and so on. So we raised our first round to find that, and I think that's where we are at. We have a very strong product to market fit. where we realized that the problem of talent identification is much more severe in mid-large companies, where they have a lot of resumes coming in and wants to identify technology because they do not have the raw manpower to just screen through manually. That's where we wanted to understand technology can help. And that's where we found our sweet spot, where companies are first in the mid market, second, are technology enabled
Mm-hmm.
uh, because they shouldn't be technology averse, and third, where the compensation is at least 10K for 70% of the workforce, which means that's a white collar job or a knowledge worker that is being in question. So with that market, the platform performs really, really well. And that is where the product market fit lies as well. We are a B2B SaaS platform for mid-market companies globally. Now, how did we achieve that product market fit, Priya? It's been a journey, to be really honest. We experiment across multiple product offerings. We understood sort of different problems that our users are facing, but which problem was the most critical, problems that are there. Then what price point the user is able to get the most value for himself, as well as we are able to build a business which is sustainable uh, for a longer run. So we focused on revenue maximization as our monetization principle. Uh, that was very important thing. Third thing was also around identifying an ICP, an ideal customer profile, where you have a repeatable winning strategy. Now, that's where most of the startups that sort of I have talked to suffer, and we suffered through it as well. But identifying a segment in the market where you have a leeway, or you have few customers, because customers of similar kinds would talk to people of similar kinds, right? An HR in the healthcare segment would be talking to an HR in the healthcare segment. So while the platform is a very horizontal platform, can be used by anyone, it was important to understand that you need to put artificial caveats so that you can grow really, really fast. Mm-hmm. And this paved, this really paid in the last 6 months, where we are seeing exponential growth in month over month revenues. So right now, MRR is growing almost around 60% month over month, which has been a really good journey for the team and the company.
Interesting.
So one small thing, one formula that sort of I think I learned over a course of time is for product market fit, base your problems in reality, provide a value addition on top of it, ensure that you can generate economic profit, and that combination of these three will give you a product market fit. So it's like A plus B plus C is equals to the solution, which is product market fit for us.
Did you pivot your business model somewhere?
During the course, Priya, we didn't have a very pivoting is often misused word in the industry, right? I would say iteration is what I prefer, where you have an audience defined, so you want to really do something for a particular audience, just like you have defined it for entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. Now, you can do that by identifying various problems that they are facing and finding a solution for it. But that's an iterative process. Over time, you would sort of solve for it. So we have not done as a pivot as such, but we have definitely iterated on which market to target. What is the price model that works best? What is the problem that is the burning need? And so on. So it's more of iteration over pivoting. Not a big fan of pivots because it's slightly overused. Yeah.
Okay. What are the different challenges that you have faced along the way? Can you share with us?
Challenges have been many, Priya. I'll start with the monetary side of things to personal and maybe then interpersonal, right? So on the monetary side of things, as I was saying, right, we started with the hope that we'll raise funds in 3 months, but that didn't happen. We almost got very close where we had almost 30 people. This happened in the last COVID, last year, 2020, around June, when we had to pay salaries of 30 people, but we didn't have enough money in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where we realized that we should have planned for this part better. While we got out of it stronger because we raised the angel round, we raised the seed round, and so on. But at the same time, I think that's one phase where I still remember very vividly. It was locked down. All five of us were staying in different houses in Hyderabad. We somehow assembled at one place and we asked ourselves question, okay, what do we want to do now? Found out a few solutions, tried making phone calls, and so on and so forth. And we got out of that, right? So that is one challenging phase that we had during the journey, which was related to managing your money well. And that's where whenever I talk to entrepreneurs and founders, I say that guys have some 3 to 6 months runway and start raising funds before sort of happen to need it. That's on that side, Priya. On the personal side, I believe that the founder anxiety is something very real, right? So we get consumed in work so much that becomes our identity. But we should try to learn this hard way. We should try to balance these four aspects, right? Work, health, love, and play. Now, most of the founders are very high on work, but they would be like 10 out of 10. And probably they are like 1 or 2 on other 3 verticals. A good balance lies in have 7 to 8 on work, but 5 to 6 on other levers as well. So that's where my personal challenges were, because now I'm not in connection with my family or my passion. Passion became work, so that was there, but something apart from work. So that was one big challenge that I think most of the founders face that. On the interpersonal side, it's been an experience. It's been a great experience in working with people, learning with people. But I personally, in my own head, had a challenge in managing people who had more experience than me. So I'm being very candid right now. So I really have to go out of my way to train myself in domains which I did not know, domains that I do not have experience in, and so on. So that's where an entrepreneur is supposed to sort of know a lot of things. You need to know how to do marketing, sales, product, engineering, and so on, right? So that's where the interpersonal challenge came into being, where I had to understand that I have my own limits and I should hire people who bring in the complementary skill set, which the founding team did not have. That's what we did. So currently the TurboHire leadership team consists of 8 people, and all of us have various different skills, and skills that are only possible because all of us are coming together. Individually, we are all very limited, right? And that's sort of one thing that I say very often. We are all very limited as individuals, man. If you ask me questions, I don't know everything. I would know something from my own experience. I can share that. Is it the right thing for everyone? I don't think so. Right.
Okay.
People would have to sort of figure out their own ways. So this has been the set of challenges. I combined it with how we worked and solved it. But yeah, hope that answers.
Speaking of the founding team, one particular thing I am very curious about, the number of founders that you have in the founding team.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
when I ask about the co-founders to different founders, so they all say that having a co-founder is makes the journey much easier. But when the number of co-founders increases to a certain point, it gets much more difficult to arrive at a decision and coming to a consensus. Also, sometimes the leadership is also something that has to be debated and all. Having said that, I would like to understand, how does it work in your founding team? How do you resolve conflicts? That is number one. And who leads the group when we have a crisis or something?
So one part, Priya, that is very important when we realize it, conflicts are very good. If two of us are saying the same thing always, which means one of us, right? So understanding that conflicts are actually something really nice and something good can be achieved out of it. Sort of that's where it all starts. Now, um, often the founding team, like we are 5 members in the founding team and so on. But at the same time, there is a decision maker in different realms. So a decision in technology, that's his realm. He would reach out to the rest of us for advice on what we think to bounce off ideas. But he is the decision maker in that realm. Product and growth, that's my realm, right? That's where I take decisions and also take risk at times. So people might not agree, but that's a decision I have taken and I would have to live with it and make it successful, right? Similarly, Deepak takes care of decisions in the sales realm and funding and so on. So that's where in the team, if you have clear compartmentalization of ownership, that's the growth is a core priority, and you would be able to resolve the conflicts, or instead of saying resolving conflicts, you'll be able to hear everyone out and then come up with the solution to the problem that you're facing. The last part is when there's a conflict, understanding that if you and I are saying different things, we don't disagree as humans, we disagree on that topic of conversation, right? So that sort of helped us that we disagree very often, but that's a good thing because now we are sort of all contributing our ideas and thoughts to whatever problem that we had to be solved. So that's sort of how the decision making works. One, everyone contributes. Two, there is one person whose sole responsibility is to make the decision and he get to take the call.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what happens when there are debating topics where, for example, let's say one investor is offering us investment amount and three of the founders are not on board with the idea that we should take the funding, but two other founders and one of them being the guy who is dealing with the investor is on board with the idea that they should take the funding. How do you resolve the conflict?
A very good question, Priya, and that reminded me of one incident that happened last year when we said no to an investor.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not very common that founders are saying no to investors, especially during the time of COVID when there was money which is sort of scarce and so on. But the reason being that there was not alignment, there was less alignment between what the investors wanted us to do for the course of time versus how we saw TurboHire grow. So we always had this thought that we would be a global company. We didn't want to limit ourselves to India. Whereas the investor had a thesis that India is the market that we should concentrate for the next 3 years, right? Now, that was an interesting scenario where we had difference in opinion on how to pursue it. But at the same time, Priya, right, we all put our concerns on like in a forum that we were discussing. At the same time, we were all logical that, okay, this would be a problem in 3 years. This could be a problem. So if you operate by idea meritocracy, right, as Ray Dalio puts it, things become very crystal clear in terms of decision making. And it's not what I think or what you think. It becomes what is right and what is not right. So that is how most of the conflicts get resolved in the founding team, because it's not my intuition that is saying it, but it's more of a reason that is leading to something good. Does that answer your question? I think it's not the most commonly answered way, like most common answer to the question that you asked, but I think that sort of is in the founding team, especially at TurboHire, the dynamics are very fluid. So, and I think a lot of it is the credit has to be given to Deepak as well in the way he believes or behaves every day, where we feel that the 30 people who are building TurboHire, right? Each of us are owners into the growth of TurboHire, and in different verticals for that matter.
Mhm.
And when that kind of ownership is taken by everyone, things become extremely fluid because we all make good decisions, bad decisions, and so on and so forth. So yeah, we are all like problem solvers and keep unlocking next levels of problems that you may have to solve. Uh, I was saying this thing to somebody, Priya, that entrepreneurship is like a video game,
Okay.
uh, and like a multiplayer video game. Now you keep moving forward, unlocking different levels, finding maybe hitting the wall and then coming back together and then sort of solving for more. And that's where it becomes a very fulfilling journey, right? That you acquire new skills, you solve challenges, you grow, and so on. So that's sort of how it is.
Very interesting point raised. Probably I'll copy this line and post it somewhere. Uh, when you take decisions as an entrepreneur, some of the decisions also do end up being becoming a failure. Uh, can you share with us about some of the decisions that you have taken or the entire founding team has taken, which has resulted in a failure?
Yeah. So I would say actually the part of running growth experiments, Priya, is to have this clarity that there would be good number of decisions that will not work in favor. So when I'll just give an example. When we wanted to grow into the US 3 months back, we thought that let's pick a market and let's sort of start selling. Uh, we That didn't work quite well. The product was not ready for the US market at that point in time. So whenever we took a very instinctual decision, let's do this because this sounds amazing and sort of like something that we are all excited about, we ended up falling on our faces, right?
Mhm.
So that's just one example where the product was not ready. I'll give like a real life example. So in India, OTP is a very common concept, right? One-time password is something that we hear. So you would go to Paytm website and you would see OTP written there. But in US, people do not understand what OTP is. They are used to one-time passcode or one-time code. So when we launched in US, we got a lot of queries from candidates that what is an OTP and so on. So that was one bad decision where we were not prepared for a market. We didn't do our research well before we launched in US. At the
Mhm.
same time, it was a part of learning as well, Priya, because you never know when you're ready. So we quickly got the feedback from the market, worked on it, and now sort of TurboHire is being used by many different customers in the US market as well, and further growing there. That's just a part of running experiments, failing on it. Uh, Imagine a kid there again, right? So kids, when they start to run, they would fell off, like they would sort of trip, and they would get up, shoulder shrug, and then we'll start running again. So that's just an opportunity in disguise that okay, you fall down, that's okay, but let's sort of keep moving. So yeah, that's sort of how failures operate, right? What do you think?
I'm sorry.
What do you think about failures in general?
Well, I think failures are more common than success. For every one success, you'll find 10 failures. So I like failures and I enjoy failures actually. So that way, every time I fail, I fall down, and I have an opportunity to again go up.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. Very cool. It's, I think, a part and parcel of building a business, part and parcel of doing something, right? If you are doing something, you're alive. If you're alive, you will fail. If you're failing, you'll get back and then you'll succeed. Just a
Absolutely,
four-part thing there. Yeah.
absolutely. So I think we are almost up with the time. So that is why I'm coming to my last question, the final question I asked to every entrepreneur. Tell us about the learnings that you have got as an entrepreneur, which can shorten the learning curve of other entrepreneurs out there who are listening to us right now.
If I just have to sum it up in one line, and which has helped me make a lot of decisions, Priya, it would be a line that I read in one of the books. I don't recall the name, but it goes like this, right? So there is no one idea for your life. There are many lives you could live happily and productively. Now, this one statement, the magic in it, Priya, is taking the load off of one perfect thing that we often try to bog ourselves down with. Some people who do not start, they're waiting for that one great idea,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so on. So that's where understanding that there are many possible ideas that you could build happily, productively, grow, and so on, really takes the load off the shoulders of making that one right decision, because there are many such right decisions. It's not a radio button kind of a model where you have to select one which is right, otherwise there would be beep, no, you're wrong. It's more like multi-select. Out of 10, there are 5 right answers, or 3 right answers, or 8 right answers. And when you start thinking about life/startups that way, things start to unlock much more frequently than otherwise.
Well, we are up with the time, and I must say it was a great pleasure to talk with you and to listen to your perspectives. Very fresh, few new things I have got today about the video game analogy. I'll probably share it with others. Thanks for your time, Aman, and our best wishes for TurboHire.
Thank you so much, Priya. It was an absolute honor and a pleasure talking to you, sharing the journey. We all sort of learn a lot when we look back, right? It's like hard work plus reflection equals to progress. So that's sort of something that happened to me when I was preparing for this conversation that we had. So absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.